Have you ever thought about, like, how important community is?
Yeah.
Especially, as we get older.
Yeah.
Well, today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into this idea of community through the story of Inez McLean.
Okay.
And, we'll be kind of looking at how her experiences kind of connect with the bigger picture of challenges facing seniors today.
Okay, great.
So who is Inez McLean?
Sure. So Inez, she's a 70-year-old woman living in Aroostook County, Maine.
Okay. Maine.
Yeah, so think like beautiful landscapes, tight-knit communities, but also long, snowy winters.
Yeah, those winters can be tough.
Yeah. And so Inez is known for two things, really. Her incredible cooking and her deep community ties.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting how her passion for cooking, it kind of reflects a bigger issue, food security for seniors.
Oh, yeah. Especially those who might be facing health challenges or something.
Exactly. And Meals on Wheels, they address that need directly, right? Making sure seniors get those nutritious meals, but also combating, social isolation, which is a huge problem that often gets overlooked.
It really is.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Inez, loves to cook, huh?
Oh, she does.
That's great.
It's like you give her a recipe and boom, she'll whip up this amazing meal. It just shows her resourcefulness, her spirit.
Yeah, totally.
But life kind of threw her a curveball, right? She developed this vascular disease, which ultimately led to the amputation of one of her legs.
Oh, wow. That's a major life change.
It is, and it really underscores how important Meals on Wheels is for seniors facing, these kinds of mobility challenges.
For sure.
When you think about it, it's not just about the food delivery, right? It's about those regular visits. Someone checking in, making sure everything's okay.
Yeah, it's like an extra set of eyes, right?
Exactly. And those visits, they can be crucial, for identifying potential health issues or even just like safety hazards around the home.
Yeah. And speaking of safety, Inez's story, it made me think about the whole issue of falls among seniors. It's a serious problem.
It is. It's actually the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries in people 65 and older.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that serious.
It's huge. And what's interesting? Some Meals on Wheels programs, they're actually partnering with occupational therapists to do home safety assessments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're proactively trying to address things like, loose rugs or poor lighting, anything that could be a hazard.
That's pretty amazing. So they're not just delivering food, they're like helping prevent accidents too.
Exactly.
That's a whole other level of care.
It is.
So we talked about the physical challenges, but Inez also faced loneliness, right? Especially during those long Maine winters. And then, COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
Things must have gotten really tough.
The pandemic, it really amplified those feelings of isolation for a lot of seniors. And the demand for services like Meals on Wheels, it just skyrocketed.
Right. So Inez must have really needed that support.
And she did. But a lot of Meals on Wheels programs, they had to create wait lists because of the increased demand.
Oh, wow.
It really highlights how much we need to expand support for these programs.
Absolutely. So Inez ended up on a wait list.
She did. For a whole year, she had to rely on takeout while she waited for Meals on Wheels to start delivering.
Wow. A whole year. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who, loves to cook. It must have been a difficult adjustment.
It was. And it really highlights the potential consequences of waiting for these services. Malnutrition, isolation, delayed identification of health issues.
Right.
It's a big issue.
Absolutely. So after that year of waiting, Inez finally started receiving Meals on Wheels deliveries. How often do they deliver?
Twice a week. They bring her 10 frozen meals, bread, milk, even a spicy Thai coconut chicken that she loves.
Oh, that's nice.
It's not just like generic food, They try to cater to individual tastes.
That's great. It must make a big difference for the seniors.
It does. It's about dignity and respect. And it kind of shows how Meals on Wheels goes beyond just, meeting basic needs. They're really trying to improve seniors' quality of life.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about the food itself, right? Inez has this Meals on Wheels volunteer, Don.
Oh, Don. He's great.
Yeah, he seems like a really special guy. He's got this warm personality, brightens everyone's day. He's bringing more than just a meal. He's bringing connection, a friendly face.
Exactly. And Don, he really exemplifies the the vital role that volunteers play in Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
They're the heart and soul of this organization, building relationships, fostering community. It's about so much more than just the food.
And, just having someone stop by, it can really make all the difference for someone who's feeling isolated.
Absolutely. And, it makes me think about how often we talk about aging in terms of decline and limitations, but Inez's story, even with all the challenges she's faced, it shows this incredible resilience, this adaptability that older adults have.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. I mean, even with her mobility challenges, Inez found a way to reconnect with cooking. She started baking bread again, at a slower pace, of course, but still,
Wow.
She had to adapt, but she found a way to keep doing what she loved. And, that's just a beautiful example of how these programs like Meals on Wheels, they can empower seniors, help them maintain their independence, pursue their passions.
Yeah. It's not just about providing a service. It's about enabling people to live fuller lives.
Exactly. And it brings us to a crucial question. How can we, like Dawn, contribute to our communities? What can we do to make sure that no senior feels forgotten or alone?
That's a question worth thinking about.
It is.
Inez's story, it just shows how even small acts of kindness can make a huge difference, especially for people who are feeling isolated or vulnerable.
Absolutely. And we don't have to wait for some big opportunity to, make a difference. It can start right where we are with the people around us.
I like that.
Maybe it's a phone call to an elderly neighbor or a visit to a senior center or even just offering to help someone with their groceries.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that every little thing we do, it can brighten someone's day.
Yeah.
And remind them that they're valued, that someone cares.
Exactly. And if we all do that, embrace that kind of mindset, we can create communities where seniors feel supported, connected, empowered to really live their lives to the fullest.
What a wonderful thought. It's really amazing how something as simple as like a meal delivery can really spark all these positive changes.
Yeah.
And what really hit home for me and Inez's story was her quote about, wanting people to know she loves her family and her community. Mm-hmm. It just like makes you realize how important those connections are,
For sure.
Not just for seniors, but for like everyone.
Yeah.
It's about feeling valued, it's seen and like you're part of something bigger.
Yeah. And it really challenges how we often think about aging, as this process of decline. But Inez's story, it shows us that it can also be a time of, resilience and adaptation and growth, especially when people have support systems in place.
Right. So how do we change the way we think about aging? I mean, how do we challenge those stereotypes?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing and valuing what older adults bring to our communities.
Yeah.
Their experiences, their wisdom, their perspectives, all of that. It enriches our lives in so many ways.
That's true. And programs like Meals on Wheels, they play a big role in fostering that sense of community and connection.
Yeah, they're not just delivering meals. They're delivering hope, companionship, and that reminder that someone cares.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the seniors receiving those meals either. It's about the volunteers like Dawn.
Oh, right. Dawn.
He seems to really get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Giving back, connecting with people.
It's this beautiful cycle, right?
Yeah.
It benefits both the giver and the receiver. And that helps create a stronger, more compassionate community for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring to see how, people from all different backgrounds, they come together to support Meals on Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It's about collective action, right?
Yeah.
It shows how we can all make a difference.
Absolutely. And it also highlights how important it is to invest in these kinds of programs, because the number of seniors is growing and the demand for these services is only going to increase.
Yeah, that's true. Makes you wonder, are there other innovative approaches we could be taking? Or partnerships to kind of expand the reach and impact of Meals on Wheels?
Oh, there are definitely some cool things happening out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some programs are partnering with ride-sharing services, so they can help seniors get to doctor's appointments or social events. Others are using technology to connect seniors with online support groups or learning opportunities.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's all about, using those resources and technologies we already have to create a more supportive environment.
Right. So to kind of bring it all together, what we've learned from Inez's story and our deep dive into Meals on Wheels is Well, first of all, they're doing incredible work addressing some very serious issues, like senior hunger and isolation and safety concerns. But it's more than that. It's about fostering those human connections, empowering seniors, and really creating this ripple effect of positive change in communities.
It really is.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that we all had a role to play in supporting our aging population, whether it's through volunteering or donating or even just checking in on our elderly neighbors. Every effort counts. It's about seeing the value in every person, regardless of age, and creating a society where seniors feel valued and supported and empowered to, really live their lives to the fullest.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our final thought for today.
It's like Inez's story and our look at Meals on Wheels. It really makes you think about how we can all make a difference,
Yeah, it is kind of a call to action, isn't it? Like, how can we help create communities where seniors feel included and supported? Because when we talk about building a better future, well, that includes taking care of the people who came before us.
Right. And we've been talking about Inez's experience in Maine, but these things, these issues, they're everywhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. Senior hunger, isolation, needing support, that's happening all over the country in cities and small towns.
And it makes you realize how much we might take for granted, like just going to the store or calling a friend, things that might not be so easy for someone who can't get around as well or who feels lonely.
It's true. And, Inez's story, it really shows how important it is to have both like personal strength and support from systems, from programs. Like, she's incredibly resilient, but Meals on Wheels gives her that extra help, that safety net, so she can stay independent.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not about like feeling sorry for seniors or thinking that getting older is all about decline. It's about, seeing their worth, helping them with what they need, and recognizing all that they contribute.
I like that. It's about, changing how we view aging. It's not just about, quote unquote, aging gracefully. It's about aging with purpose.
Yeah.
With the feeling of being connected to the world and making a difference.
And it's about building communities where seniors feel like they belong and they're respected and they can, keep living their lives to the fullest.
Exactly. And Inez's story, it reminds us that we can all be part of that. Even small things like volunteering, donating, even just checking in on an older neighbor, those things matter. They make a difference.
It's been a really inspiring conversation.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners are thinking about what they can do to help.
Me too. And, remember, every senior has a story, a whole life full of experiences and things they can teach us. Let's make sure we're listening to those stories.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.